Everyone. Welcome, and I would like to call this December 22nd, 2015 City Council meeting to order. If you'd please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We're at the citizens' comment portion. Let's see. Mr. Villars?
I'm declining.
You're going to...
Come on later on.
You're going to do the presentation. Okay, that's same. All right. I was just wondering.
We were a little overzealous.
Okay, I was wondering if you wanted to speak twice or not. Okay, so very good. All right. Mr. Ryder, you signed up. Please come up and give us your comments, please.
Merry Christmas, City Council and Mayor. I come before you, I've got an issue that's been on the burner for a long time, been waiting for some response from the city. I'm sure most of you don't know about it, but I prepared a statement. I just want to read it and have you guys take it under consideration. The end of last year, Gil Michael passed away. A day or two after this, Kathy Michael had left to stay with a relative while she had guests staying at Cedar Cove Inn. I was notified in the evening of the 29th of December that the sewer had backed up and was flooding the basement. I went over to Cedar Cove and called Robinson Plumbing to try and get the drain unclogged. They attempted to roto-rooter the drain, but were only able to get out about 30 feet because there was a bend they could not get around. After trying to see if the line was clear and it backed up again, it was decided that the city needed to be contacted. Next day, the city was contacted to see what they could do. We were told that there was nothing they would do unless it was determined that the problem was on city property. The only course of action was to dig up the concrete driveway, locate the sewer line coming out of the house, and make any necessary repairs. And I'm presenting this because I worked for Cedar Cove Inn in making these repairs on the property. The entire sewer line was exposed, and since it was not visibly obvious there was a problem, it was taken out and the concrete tiles were replaced with PVC to the edge of the property line. After doing so, we tested the line by flushing toilets and turning on sinks, and as soon as the line filled with water, it started back up and was running onto the ground where the new pipe was joined with the concrete pipe going onto the city right-of-way. Flowhawks was then contacted and brought out a camera to determine where the blockage was located. I had installed a clean-out halfway to the property line in the pipe that was replaced, and that was the location Flowhawks used to run the camera down the line. A video was taken and given to the city along with a written report that stated the blockage was located 45 feet from the clean-out on city property. The city was again notified of the determination and given the thumb drive with the video on it. At this point, the city had Casco come out and replace the sewer line on the city right-of-way, which resulted in problems solved. The mayor made a number of visits out during the few days this was taking place and was there when the blockage from the city side of the line backed up at the connection of the new line on Cedar Cove property. So he can verify what I have described as what actually occurred. He instructed us to submit all associated costs to the city for reimbursement. This is when the dance and pass the blame game began. Bills were submitted to the city. After waiting 4 to 5 months, I checked on the status of payment. More time elapsed, then I was told it got turned over to AWC. We asked for the return of the video on the thumb drive, and the city said they didn't have it. Another month or so went by, and I was notified by AWC that they determined the problem was on Cedar Cove property and they were not going to settle claim. I went in
Mr. Ryder,
to
how much longer do you have?
Pardon?
How much more testimony?
I've just got about half a page.
Okay, hurry up.
I went in to schedule a meeting with Mark Dorsey and the mayor, and Mark refused to see me or talk to me. He said it was between us and AWC. I wrote several letters to AWC to explain why it was the city's responsibility and was told they would not change their determination nor meet with me. A request for public records was given to the city to determine who is responsible for a sewer line in the city right-of-way, and RCW 1304-150 states that the portion of side sewer in the public right-of-way is the responsibility of the city. A couple things come to mind at this point. Why did the city take responsibility and replace the portion of the sewer on the right-of-way if it was not required to do so? How could the problem have been on Cedar Cove property if all the sewer line was replaced and it's still backed up? Why has the city not stepped up and taken care of the associated expense incurred by Cedar Cove as a result of the blockage? Why has it taken so long, almost exactly a year so far, and why has Mark Dorsey made such a concerted effort to keep the city from paying the claim for damages? After finally determining from the RCW that the city is responsible, it is expected that all claims for damages will be paid in full as soon as possible. I respectfully request that the city step up, take responsibility, and the appropriate steps to finalize this matter. And I've got copies of all the expenses on my end.
Just give them to
Okay.
Clerk Reinerson over there. Okay, thank you. Ms. Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. On December 29th, sorry, 2014, the City of Port Orchard side sewer line backed up onto the property located at 228 Seattle Avenue. City Engineer Mark Dorsey and several Public Works employees visited the property, and Mr. Dorsey indicated the city would not do anything in regards to the problem until it was proved the cause of the backup was not due to blockage on private property, but due to blockage on city right-of-way. As such, work began on the property to check the sewer lines from the house to the edge of the private property. Once the work was complete, the water in the house was run. 5 witnesses observed backup from the City of Port Orchard sewer line onto our private property. A scope had been done by Flowhawks indicating root mass at 45 feet is on city property and will need to be replaced, end quote. The city did not repair the existing sewer line on city right-of-way, but chose to replace that line with a new line. Once this new line was in place, the problem was completely resolved. The city turned this claim over to the Association of Washington Cities. In the attached email from Lynn Hummel, our MSA claim coordinator, states, quote, "I observed a raised lateral line coming from your property downhill where it then connects with the main line. I have been told, even though this was not a city line, nor the city's responsibility, they opted to replace it for you." The email states, "I observed a raised lateral line coming from your property downhill where it then connects with the main line. I have been told that even though this was not a city line nor the city responsibility, they opted to replace it for you." To be forthright, that is not factual. Mr. Dorsey specifically articulated to me they did not want to have to clear out the existing sewer line on city right-of-way and would be replacing it with this flex line. This is per Chapter 1304.15, Side Sewer Responsibilities. That portion of any side sewer pipe lying within a street right-of-way or easement shall be kept within the exclusive control of the city. It has been clearly documented by the report from Flowhawk, 5 witnesses to the city backup, and the replacement of the existing side sewer that this damage was due to failure of an existing city sewer line that was not maintained. Bills and statements were provided to the city months ago. This has been unnecessarily prolonged and delayed, and authorization of the council and reimbursement is respectfully requested. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter.
Thank you. That's the only ones that have signed up. Is anybody else wishing to, please raise your hand? Okay.
The same thing happened to my sister's place, which is just down the street. And they had two different plumbing and ended up, I think, having Flowhawk come out because the first person couldn't get to the line. And their line goes down the abandoned street. Senior moment here. Harrison, between my house and her house. And also the city came out and told John that he had to fix it, even though it's on city property, and that until that there would be no, there was nothing they could do. But so John dug the hole, got Flowhawk to clean it out. And so these are expenses coming to the people with things that are on city property and being told that they have no recourse. But it took two different plumbing cleaners to come out to get it cleared up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? There'll be another chance at the end of the meeting. Last chance. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. Approval of the agenda. Council, what's your pleasure?
Move to approve the agenda as published.
Okay, Mr. Clausen moved, yes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Okay, I would like to add an agenda item, please,
Okay,
to the business items. This would be 7A, waterfront parking.
7A.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to add business item 7A, waterfront parking. Open for discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of adding waterfront parking as 7A, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. That motion carries. All right, we're back to the main motion. Any other comments? All right, we'll be voting on approval of the amended main motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. That motion carries. We're at the consent agenda portion. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. That motion carries. Thank you. All right, now we're at presentation item 5, South Kitsap School District Bond. Villers?
Villers, hi.
Villers,
Good evening.
okay.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, my name is Jay Villers. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for the South Kitsap School District, and I'm here with our board member, Rebecca Deal, to talk about our upcoming bond and give you a little bit of information about that. Our plan, I have the privilege to tell you that we are going out for a bond to be voted on in February 2016. And this bond is for the construction of a second high school here in South Kitsap. We own 57 acres in the city, and our plan is to build a high school there. And I want to make clear, people know that this is a second high school that would hold roughly about 1,500 students with a capacity of about 1,800. Our focus of this high school is for technology. It will be a STEM high school, which is science, technology, engineering, and math as part of the focus, but it will also be a comprehensive high school with all of the things that the other high school would have. The bond right now We're looking at about $126 million. $2 million of that will go to technology upgrades to the current high school, but the other will be for the new addition or the new construction of that high school. And we're looking at about a 30-year bond with about 99 cents per thousand for the taxpayers. What's prompting this is we're really losing classroom space. Recently, our district and much of the state of Washington has gone to an all-day kindergarten and preschools. With all-day kindergarten, we doubled the amount of classroom spaces that we needed. So probably most folks were familiar with half-day kindergarten, and so you could use the same classroom for, of course, for 2 different classes in that day. But now we went to double that in all of our schools. And our schools all of our elementary schools are at capacity. So our intention is that we need to build classroom space and make it available for our other students. I think that's probably about it. If some of the other pieces that we are moving into a grade configuration where we are going to move our schools from currently we're 7, 8, 9 junior highs, elementaries that are K-6, and our high school is 10, 12. In the state of Washington, there are 295 school districts. 294 of those districts are at a different configuration where they are K-5, 6, 8 for the middle schools, and 9, 12 for high schools. And we are the last one to really make that move. And by doing that, we will put our ninth graders will have the capacity to earn credits and have opportunities that other high school students do around the state. Our sixth graders will be able, if they move to the middle schools, will be able to afford opportunities and advanced classes that are not currently available to them in the model at the elementary school. And that will open up space at our elementary schools because we are looking at quite a bit of enrollment increase in the next few years. So those are the facts with our bond. Rebecca, did you want to say a few things?
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Deal, and I'm on the South Kitsap School District School Board. And I'm so excited about this time. The school board has decided that we're going to run a bond. We want to invest in South Kitsap. We want to invest in our kids' future. It's time to expand. It's time to come into the next century in the innovations and the technology and all the things that our kids need for the next, the future things that that are going on, and we want them to be prepared and ready. And we have a great high school, South Kitsap High School. We want to have a specialized STEM high school as our second high school, and we have open enrollment, so parents can choose. It's just so exciting, and we have the safety and technology upgrades will benefit the current high school. And Boeing has come in and wanted to do some things, partner with us, but we weren't ready. We didn't have the infrastructure, so we need those things at our current high school. And then the new high school, of course, would be state-of-the-art. And we have been very efficient in our deciding of how much this will cost, what we will build, and how we will build it. We want to make a smaller footprint and build up rather than out. We have 57 acres and want to be efficient with taxpayer money, space, everything that we decide. And we are all very passionate. We're all excited. We're all unified. And we would like to ask that City Council and Mayor, that you would please endorse our efforts as we run this bond. Thank you very much for your time. And does anybody have any questions?
Council, any questions?
Okay, thank you
All right.
very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I may just make a council or comment in regards to an endorsement. I'm not sure if you're familiar with our process, but before we could take an official position, we have to publicize it and give both sides an opportunity to address the issue before we can take a position. So.
Thank you.
Okay. We're on to new business item 7A, waterfront parking. And that was your motion, Ms. Lucarelli, go ahead and bring us up to speed on that, if you would.
I have some older information. I'm not sure if I have the most current information, but I believe Kitsap Transit needed to make some repairs on a larger ferry boat and had to replace that boat that went to Annapolis with a smaller boat. As a result, some of the people who usually transfer over to Annapolis and park over there have had to park over in the parking lot on our waterfront here. And with the extra number of people needing to park in the parking lot downtown, I think we ran out of room is what happened. Correct me if I'm not giving accurate information or if it needs to be updated. And as a result, people who actually have paid passes do not have parking space in our downtown, our waterfront parking lot. So, Rob, I think you may have more information, more of the update. Could you?
Well, and so really what's happening is folks that are paying for a monthly pass are showing up to park at the waterfront and the lot's full. And so they're parking, they have no choice but to park in the 2-hour space, but they've paid for a monthly pass at the waterfront and they're getting parking tickets when they've got a monthly pass displaying in their windshield. So I chatted with the chief about it, and we need to take action to say it's okay not to enforce that parking if you've got a monthly pass displayed. I think there needs to be another step to this, is I think also public properties needs to take, I think if we're selling monthly passes, I think there needs to be, if we're selling 15 monthly passes, then there needs to be 15 reserved stalls down there. And, the person that comes down for daily parking shouldn't be able to park in those spaces. But I think that's a bigger issue than here tonight. I think public property should probably take that up. And in the meantime, I don't think we should be writing people tickets that have paid, for a monthly pass.
Did we do that?
We have.
Yeah.
So, because that's what our ordinance says. And so I guess I'd like to make a motion that we not enforce that, anybody with a monthly pass, if there's not room for them and they park in 2-hour parking, that we not write them a ticket. And that public property take this up after the first of the year and figure out what we can do about this so that we don't have this problem. Normally we don't have the problem. There's plenty of parking, but from time to time we have boats go down and the commuters are impacted. So I think we need to fix this. The other piece is the chief said we can't ask the judge to forgive this, but the chief said if he got a copy of the ticket and the copy of the monthly parking pass, that he would go chat with the judge and see what he could do. So
We need a second.
that was my motion, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Open the floor for discussion.
Yeah, just one discussion point. I agree with sending this to public properties because that lot is almost always at capacity. And so we're always right up against it. And so I think some other solution that probably solves this on a long-term basis is something that definitely is necessary. But I think the short-term solution is a valid one.
Yeah, the short term seems like a Band-Aid because I think what you're referring to, Sean, is that there's no limit at the number of parking spaces that we're selling.
Right.
And we may be selling more permits than we have spaces.
Correct.
So I guess we have to know, what does the permit actually say on it? Is it a guaranteed spot or is it a first come, first serve, or?
Right. To be able to vet that out and better define it.
Mr. Clausen?
I think part of it would be, where do we give a priority? To somebody who's willing to commit to the parking lot for a month, or somebody that's going to come in on an occasional usage? And personally, I would prefer to give priority to the people that invest for a month's worth of parking. Second thing that I would ask, that we've heard in the past, or maybe I've just heard it anecdotally, but the current passes that we have do not hold up well throughout the month. And if public property is going to look at that they might want to also consider maybe a different method for which somebody could have a pass that, one, would be easier for our officers to see and verify, and two, it's not going to fade away before the 30 days is up.
Yeah, I would recommend that the Public Properties Committee invite the chief for his input to that discussion.
Any other comments or discussion?
The question I have is how long? Is there a time limit that you want to put on this?
I don't think there needs to be, because it's only going to be someone that has a monthly parking pass that, I would hope that this gets resolved in January, but I would hate to, the boat's supposed to be repaired by, the end of the month, but what if it's not? If we put a time limit on it at the end of December, what if it's not? And what if the other boat breaks down or something? It seems to be, as Sean was just saying, we're bumping up against the top end of the capacity of that area anyway. I think we just need to solve the problem, and if we're going to sell monthly parking passes, we need to make sure there's room for somebody to
Spaces
park there.
available.
I could share that, the engines of both the Pete and the Carlisle fortunately has been replaced, and the Pete is currently out getting new engines. I would hope that it should be back in operation by the first of the year, but the fact still remains, you're talking about a piece of equipment that occasionally will break down, and when they do, unfortunately, our only option at Transit is to put on the 2 smaller vessels, which doesn't provide enough capacity. Long term, we're in the process of designing and hopefully soon go to construction to build a new spare boat that will have the similar capacity of the other 2. So, but it's probably a year away before we see that.
So
Right.
I'm not advocating to not enforce parking down there. It's just not anybody that's got a monthly parking pass
Correct.
displayed.
Correct.
If they're,
Right.
if the one area is full and they spill into another area, that they don't get a ticket.
All right. Everybody clear on what we'd be voting on then? The motion that Mr. Patonsu brought forward, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I feel like we kind of let the school thing hanging, and I'm kind of wondering if, I'd like to move that we put the issue of the South Kitsap School District bond issue on the agenda in January, and that we invite the community on both sides of the issue an opportunity to come forward and provide testimony, and so we can take a position if we so desire.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, Mr. Clausen just made a motion that that we have a public, you're talking about a public hearing?
Well, I don't know that it needs to be classified as a public hearing, but we certainly need to publish it and make available an opportunity for either sides of the issue, if you will, to comment.
Okay.
The 12th or the 26th is your, Mr. Clausen, the 12th or the 26th?
I'd comment on that and say the 12th, just because of the ballots will have dropped before the 26th, and I think it gives people time to comment on that prior to the ballots being dropped.
I don't see any reason to wait either. I think sooner the better.
You get your notices in on time?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then the motion is for the first council meeting in January. Any other comments or discussions? All those in favor of Mr. Clausen's motion, please indicate by saying yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed, nay. I fooled you, didn't I? There is no, did I hear a nay? No, no nays, that motion passes. Okay. All right, reports of the council committees. And Mr. Clausen, do you have a report for us?
No report.
Okay, economic development, Ms. Ashby.
No report.
Public properties, Mr. Kachardi.
No report.
No report. You guys are really, really easy. Utilities Sewer Advisory, Mr. Patonsu.
We haven't met, no report.
Okay, Lodging Tax Advisory, Mr. Chang.
Nothing to report.
And Chimes and Lights, Ms. Lucarelli.
Something to report.
Okay.
So I am speaking on behalf of the council regarding the holiday tour results. We went around and looked at all the neighborhoods, spent considerable time checking out the city, and We would like to report that the Best Business Award went to Kitsap Bank. Kitsap Bank, once again, has just made such an effort to make the city look wonderful with all of their light displays and went the extra mile this year. So we wanted to say thank you to them. The Best Business Window Display, we had to mention that Wisteria Lane has done such a lovely job, and we wanted to recognize them for their hard work. The Best Municipal Award, I'm afraid, in our own interest, that the City of Port Orchard's Public Works Department did such an amazing job, we had to recognize them, and we wanted to thank them for their efforts. But a close second was the Port of Bremerton, also wanting to thank them for their efforts. Best Neighborhood was Rutherford in McCormick Woods. We couldn't get over how wonderful that street looked. It was almost every home had done such a nice job. It was just beautiful. Best Home Display. They got it last year, but we can't beat it. That Santa Claus up in the window. 4462 Siskin Circle. Their home is just amazing. But a second on that is 1080 10B Court. They also did a beautiful job, and we'll turn this information into the clerk so she can notify them, and we'll present them with certificates. Thank you.
No word for the almost in the city.
All right. Let's see. Is there any special committee reports? Anybody have anything special? Okay, we'll move on then. Report of the mayor, and if you excuse me, I'm going to read something a little bit here because it's my last night as mayor here. And in the words of Bob Hope, thanks for the memories. This is for the citizens out there. But I'd really like to recognize city staff, and Mr. Martin is part of the city staff, and he's actually a spokesperson tonight for Mr. Bond, and so I'll be talking about Mr. Bond and Mr. Dorsey in their absence because they're on Christmas vacation. But Mr. Martin, I want to personally thank you for the stellar job you've done this last 4 years, and folks, he worked so tirelessly to make sure that our budget and our numbers all match that. Sometimes you don't recognize the hard work, but I would like to recognize it. I know that the Washington Finance Officers Association have given him the Distinguished Budget Award in 2013 and 2014, and I suspect we get notice of that early in 2015 or 16, about 15. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he doesn't have a threefer on this. I would be very surprised if he didn't. But it's the treasurer's office is what I'm so impressed with. Everyone down there has such a great work ethic, so thank them for me, would you? All right. And just to brag a little bit more, consumer website NerdWallet, I don't know if we should pay a lot of attention to NerdWallet, but I'm going to today. They picked Port Orchard 13 out of 126 best places in the state to start a business, and that was in 2015. Mr. Dorsey is in England right now, so I'm not going to say too much about he and his staff. He's got the largest staff in any department in the city of Port Orchard. He's the one that's out there trying to keep the ice at bay, the snow at bay, the lights on, the street lights working, you name it. He has a lot to do with it. But in his spare time, he did major resurfacing projects on Port Orchard Boulevard. He did a major resurfacing on Bethel and Lund that's still bright and shiny and nice. He also worked really hard for years on Cedar Heights Pottery Avenue project. It includes sidewalks, sewers, improvements, storm sewer, and then improvements for sidewalks in Cedar Heights High School or Junior High School. And then he also did, in his spare time, Bethel Road safety improvements in the last 2 years. So in his absence, I want to thank that department. Brandy Reinerson here has agreed to fill in just after I took office, and she's done an absolute great job along with her staff. And she's kind of the mother hen of the whole operation. She takes care of a lot of the, what some people would say are mundane tasks, but they're really not, because if they don't get done, we're in trouble. So she takes care of all those things that none of the other departments want to take care of or would like to take care of, and she gets those dropped on her, and she's done a great job, and I want to thank you for that. Nick Bond is also gone and with family, but Nick has handled so much in the last 3 years that he's been with us. And he's grown in his job. And just to give you an example, just this year alone, we've had a 14% rise in number of building permits. His office hasn't grown, but we've been taking care of that additional building permit job. As of October, the staff is working on 23 building permits, including 3 commercial buildings with a total value of $3.2 million. And they've also, in their spare time, have had 10 commercial tenant improvement projects. And those are smaller projects, but they need a lot of staff attention in inspections and things. And they're like Tractor Supply. That would be a tenant improvement where they moved into a different office and did some major improvements. So I want to take my hat off to Nick and his crew, because he's can be counted on to do his a lot of work, and not with a lot of staff. So I really appreciate that. Chief Martai, he has my undying gratitude and respect. I have nothing but high praise for the professionalism and dedication to duty that our police department has shown these last 4 years. And I believe it's the best department in the Northwest. In fact, I think it's probably the best department in the U.S. But anyway, I want to thank them. And the judge right across the hallway, Judge Decker, and the municipal court staff. Once again, you know, they have the time, when they take time to work with the civilians that they work with, a lot of times they're in stressful situations and they have a lot of problems. And Judge Decker's crew shows empathy and compassion, and I'm very proud of the record that they've amassed in these last 4 years. You know, one of the goals of this administration has been improvement of, not a lot of costly improvements, but improvements to both paths and parks. And we've done some accomplishments in usability of parks, like Clayton Park was improved, Givens Park Active Club, Playground, Van Zee Park, major improvements. Paul Powers Park was improved. Water Street Boat Launch, of course, is the project that we're working on now. And actually, we have the money to, that was the port project where we worked with the port. We're very proud with how that turned out. And DeKalb Street Pier and Float project. And phase 2 of that's going to be done early in 2016. So we've also done a lot of work on the marina part, the pedestrian path, and we've done 3 segments of that in the last 4 years, and we're very proud of the last one, which was Blackjack Bridge. Just had a ribbon cutting actually about 3 weeks ago. So Port Orchard in 2015, the smartassets.com also ranked Port Orchard 8 out of 10 cities with most recreational and social opportunities for retirees. That's big as far as I'm concerned. So last but not least, I wanted to thank the churches in Port Orchard, and I started making a list, and I have a list of about 35 of them that have volunteered and helped. I won't probably read all of those. Also, there's some 20 nonprofit groups like the Saints Car Club, the Eagles Club, Fathoms of Fun, Seroptimist, Port Orchard Bay Street Association, Lions Club. I could go on and on. I don't know if you guys remember Mick Hershey. He's a civilian, retired Navy, but he brought in the Navy to take and do some major improvements to one of our parks. A neat guy. There's Captain Schaffler and Chief Vickers, South Kitsap Junior ROTC. They can always be counted on to give us some help. So along with the ones that I didn't mention, I just want to thank everybody. This has been a wonderful 4 years, and I couldn't have possibly done it without these folks that I mentioned, and many that I didn't mention. So that's my report for tonight. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year's. So we'll move on. Department heads. Like I said, Mr. Martin's going to speak for everyone tonight.
Well, I'll be brief. Merry Christmas. I'd like to personally thank the mayor. I have a personality from time to time that can be, I say, rather upfront. Other people have said I've been blunt. But anyway, we worked out a very good working relationship, and I want to thank the mayor for that. And in our staff meetings, I know that the other folks appreciated that. On the staff level, we were always able to be open and upfront and speak our mind, and you were willing to listen to us. and you didn't criticize, and then you made the decision based on what you heard from us. But it was always refreshing, and we want to thank you all for listening to us, hearing our 3 options as we would give you, and you'd weigh those. And I'm sure if they were here, they would echo the words to say thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Clerk Reinerson.
Mine's not as interesting as Mr. Martin's, but so I just wanted to update the council that I did make contact with Ann McFarland, who does the parliamentarian training. She is available the date that the council had agreed to, which is February 16th, 2016. However, she indicated that it would probably be more of a 3-hour training instead of a 2-hour, and I'm proposing to see if the council wants to meet at 6 that day. So it'll be roughly between 6 and 9.
What was that date again, please?
February 16th, and it's our regular scheduled work study session date.
Thank you.
So we would just start at 6 instead of 7. So I'm getting a consensus that yes to move forward. And then she has sent me her proposal, which obviously has the proposal of what it entails, the time, and also the format. So I will get that out to the council by the end of the week. And then I do have something to present to Councilmember Childs, and this is in recognition of your dedicated efforts and leadership to the citizens of Port Orchard as a council member from January 2008 to December 31st, 2015. So on behalf of the citizens, council, staff, and the mayor, I present this plaque to you.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but I will say that, sometimes when we work on these councils and with the mayor and with the different community groups, it's not always easy. Not everybody is going to be in agreement with everything. I've enjoyed working on the council and with a lot of you guys. It's been fun. Sometimes it hasn't been fun, but it's still important things that we do up here, and I've appreciated you putting up with my pathetic humor and sometimes one vote against the rest of you. But I do that sometimes just for to register the other side of the story, if you will. But it's over, and I'm looking on to future things, and I just thank everybody. And thank you, Brandy, and whoever came up with this for the plaque, and thank you.
Okay, citizen comments, second time. Nobody's signed up, please.
I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but my name is Jill Bolts, and I do know a few of you. It's an honor to be here. I do represent the South Kitsap school supporters tonight. Unlike the representatives from the actual school district, I can speak to asking for a positive vote as a citizen, and we'll save that for next time. But what I wanted to do was just provide you a few tidbits of information for you to look into between now and the next meeting, and I can certainly send an email to Brandy and have her provide it. But I do have a long history in this community. In fact, I spent 15 years working right here for the city of Port Orchard, which I'm very proud of. This vote will be pivotal for our community, not just inside the city limits, but the entire South Kitsap community, whether you have children or not. And so it's very important to me. I have 2 children, and only one of them may be one of the first graduating classes. So it's very important. But what I wanted to leave you with this evening is some information. So we're trying to basically flood the internet, social media, with information so that nobody can say that they didn't know. We have a couple of Facebook pages. We have a Yes number 4 SK, and we have a SK Bond 2016. Both of those are Facebook pages. I encourage you to go like them to stay informed. And then likewise, those are also a www and a .com address as well. So there's lots of community informational meetings coming up. I encourage you to attend, not only as council members and mayor, but also as community members. And hopefully next week we'll also be asking for your individual endorsements just as citizens of the community. So with that, again, yes, number 4, SK, both Facebook and .com for the websites. And I think that's it. So thank you again for agreeing to hear this at your very first meeting of the new year. And we're hoping that we're going to have a very positive result on February 9th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Anyone else, please raise your hand. Okay.
My name is Clancy Donlin. I'm a councilman-elect, and this is my last chance to talk as a civilian. And in 3 weeks, I'll be sitting up there. I want to take the opportunity, to let everybody know that one of our restaurants in town received the second place for the best fine dining in Western Washington, and that was a Bay Street Bistro. So that should go down on record. We should be very proud of them. And 2, I want to thank everybody for their service, especially Mayor Mathis and Councilman Childs. You're leaving your office right now. Mayor Mathis, you have been a great ambassador for City Hall. I don't know anybody who can shake a hand, slap a back, and laugh as good as you can. You're one of the best. And Councilman Childs, thanks for your 4 years of service. And next week I'll be sitting in your seat. Thank you for that.
Actually, Clancy, it's been 8 years.
4 terms. 4 terms. 8
Four terms. I stand corrected. You're 8 years. Good evening.
All right, thank you. Anyone on this side? Oh, hey.
Vance Vaught, 243 Tremont Place. I wanted to publicly thank the mayor, Tim Mathis, for giving us the 4 years of 100% top quality service, and I was sure glad to see and to have a chance to see this happen here in Port Orchard. Mayor Mathis has been an open, fair, and ethical public servant to everyone here in Port Orchard. Had the City Council been a little bit more willing and able to work with him, I think we could have all been brought to the table, and we would have been sure to have a full representation, and we would have got the best and most straightforward solutions for the Port Orchard problems. Sadly, that didn't happen, but still, I was able to watch Mayor Mathis encourage more civic and volunteer participation and provide leadership that gave us outstanding support for our citizens and our businesses, and it benefited all of us. You helped us stop some really costly and detrimental actions, such as the city manager and eminent domain proposals. You managed the over-annexation infrastructure support challenges and the $17 million roundabout project that you inherited, and you helped preserve our small town on the Sound, American downtown character and charm. As to the new mayor-elect, you may not think this is pro-business, but you might reconsider the downtown realtor-suggested blight district with its 10-year tax break and incentive to build directly in the middle of our downtown. If indeed we need to build 6 to 8-story buildings, we could build them on each side of this jewel that we like to call our old town center. After you won the election, you were quoted in the paper as having said that you want to heal our community and bring us together and stop the nonsense. Well, for the sake of the citizens of Port Orchard, I suggest that you continue to build upon the public service that Mayor Mathis has put into play and help building owners, merchants, and citizens to work together in tandem towards the rebirth of our city and continue to make this a community that makes a difference and gives us all a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else on this side?
Good evening.
Could you? Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to thank Mayor Mathis for his 4 years as mayor. His dedication to the city was more than exemplary and will be impossible to beat by anyone following. Mayor Mathis was the best ambassador that this city ever had. His total dedication to this town was an exemplary of real care, if not love for the city, but also honesty, integrity, hard work, patriotism, and not only knowledge, but class. I personally admire, more than anything else, his extraordinary patience in carrying his duties, and that in spite of not only the non-stop personal attacks, name-calling, character assassinations spread even before Mayor Mathis was sworn in by the former mayor all the way to this election, but also the complete obstructive action of this city council with the help of some past former staff members implemented by the former mayor. Part of those staff members was totally dedicated to the city council and the former mayor, all the way up to spending a year trying to work a concept of city manager 2 years ago. So much time and money lost for nothing. Slowly, one by one, those staff members were replaced by competent professionals who, for the first time in years, were working for the best interest of the city and not for some individuals of the city council. Yes, we're going to regret the lawyer. I am very sorry for this city to see that the city council has been re-elected and that the city will lose Tim Mathis as mayor. But there was nothing we could do, not only against the incredible amount of money that was poured in to destroy Mayor Mathis and any candidate that were challenging this city council, but against professional organizations that turned more political than professional. All that just because Mayor Mathis was not for sale and could not be bought and forced into unethical action against the city or its citizens, like using eminent domain and other backdoor deals to please special groups or individual interests. Yes, you won, and I wish good luck to the city of Port Orchard. But did you really win when only a very small percentage of the population voted? Is it showing that a great majority of the citizens did not understand that harassment and well-orchestrated campaign against Mayor Mathis, and as a result did not vote? So now there's nothing to stop you. You are not restrained by an ethical mayor. Either you will remember that you were elected to work for the city and do the right thing for the best interest of the city, or we are going to have a good example and a case study of what Alexis de Tocqueville called the tyranny of the minority. There is a very fine line in between leadership and dictatorship. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last chance for this side. And one more chance for that side. I don't want to choose sides now. I don't want to pick sides there. Okay, thank you very much. You know, there's one thing I didn't mention. The last 2 mornings I was up at the Armory, and the South Kitsap Helpline Foods was supporting our community, both the city and the county, South Kitsap County, and they have such a neat outreach this time of year. There's toys and there's food, and you start in the morning on one line and you get bags of food depending on the size of your family in need, and then you go to the next line and depending on the number of children you get toys for your family. And today and yesterday I was just overwhelmed by the amount of giving that this community does, not just for Christmas but for all the other seasons of the year. But I wanted to thank Jennifer Hardison she's the executive director of Kitsap Helpline, for organizing this mammoth project. And you know, I did say there was some nonprofits that were out in great numbers, always helping us, but 2 of those groups were here really in great numbers. There was over 40 people there this morning when I was there, and it was the Eagles Club, must have had 10, 12, 15 members there, and the Saints Car Club. And they do all the heavy lifting. I mean, we brought trucks in. There was trucks coming in one door. There was bags of food going out the other door. You really almost have to see it to believe it. But literally tons of food and tons of toys were delivered to local families. And it was, I want to thank them for making this a community that it is. And that's all I have. So if for the good of the order, does anybody else have anything? Then if no one objects, we'll stand adjourned.